thank you everyone for tuning in, and welcome to the Green for All webinar on the art and science of visual storytelling. Good morning or good afternoon to you, wherever you are. So glad that you can join us. We have a really fantastic panel with us today, and we're really excited to get into this topic. We chose this topic because the first two webinars that we did, which I encourage you to check out, and you can find them on our website, were about crowdfunding. And one of the stark numbers that really jumped out at me, and I think everybody on those calls, was the fact that crowdfunding efforts, regardless of the platform, crowdfunding efforts that utilized video were 80% more successful than those that didn't. And so that is raised 80% more money. So really spoke to me about the fact that, you know, online is increasingly a platform and a place for visuals and video. And interacting and learning through those mediums, and being able to get your information across in that way. And so we felt like we started to think about that sort of in terms of what it would mean for crowdfunding in particular, but fundraising in general, and then really step back and recognize that it's critical to be able to tell your story in a visual way, regardless of whether you're looking to engage your base, of whether you're looking to interact with donors, expand the people that you know are part of your projects. Being able to tell your story and communicate with them visually is critical to all of those efforts. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. We have a stellar panel joining us. Rebecca Hume from Big Duck, which is in New York City. We have Shane Gring from Bold in Denver, Colorado, where my brother lives. Hey, big brother. And we also have our very own Ryan Dexter, who is our in-house video production specialist here at Green for All, and is responsible for any and all of the visual and videos that you see coming out of Green for All. Ryan does those. So I won't say much more other than to say, if you have been following Green for All at all, or have been part of the work that we've done, you'll know that, you know, videos are critical and visuals are critical to what we do in general. And I think I started to think about it this morning, and really recognizing that for us in our mission to help to create an inclusive green economy strong enough to lift people out of poverty, that is a vision that I think people get, and it can be very straightforward, but when you start to get into what that really means, it gets complex quickly. And that means for us, it's critical for us to be able to tell the story of what we're talking about through visuals and through video, because if we were to put it in a paper, nobody would read it, except for the nerds. And that's good, because we need people to really get down into the nitty-gritty. But in terms of telling this story in a way that is easily digestible for all of us, you know, the visuals are just critical to that, and becoming even more so as we get more and more into it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Before we get started, I want to let folks know, unfortunately, due to the limits of the technology, we can't have live question and answer, but we do want to be in dialogue with you throughout, and we will have a substantial question and answer period towards the end. But you can send your questions now as they come up, and there's two ways you can do that. You can send us an email at business@greenforall.org. That's business@greenforall.org. Or you can use Twitter. We are monitoring our Twitter, and if you use hashtag GFA Visuals, VISUALS, GFA Visuals, hashtag GFA Visuals, we can also capture questions that way. So we'll definitely be, we've already got a handful of questions that have come in, and we will be looking forward to getting a number of questions throughout, and we will try to get to those at the end. Feel free to direct them at individuals, or just broad questions are fine as well. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce our first panelist. She is with us from New York, and with us from an organization called Big Duck. Big Duck is a communications firm that works exclusively with nonprofits. They focus in three different areas: brand raising, campaigns, and training. And the trainings are to help organizations reach supporters, build awareness, and raise money. So that's what Big Duck does, and Rebecca Hume is an art director at Big Duck. She's been there since 2007, and she has brought her expertise in branding and information design to Big Duck's creative team. She's led a number of branding, web design, and infographic projects, including projects for the New York Peace Institute and Auburn Theological Seminary. And before Big Duck, she worked in fundraising at the National Museum of Women in Arts, and she comes with a background in a bachelor's degree from Wesleyan and a master's from Carnegie Mellon. So with no further ado, Rebecca, thank you for being here this morning.
Sure. Great. I'm really excited to be here also and to be able to talk with all of you about Big Duck and what we do, how we approach visual communications. I think I'm going to be talking a little bit more generally about visuals, not specifically video, but we do a lot of infographics, so I'll touch on that. So if you actually want to bring up the first slide that I gave, I can just talk a little bit about how Big Duck approaches communications in general and what good visual communications can do for you. Big Duck works exclusively with nonprofits. So I think, like a lot of you, we work with organizations that really want to be able to communicate about their mission and about the great things that they're doing out in the world. So if we want to flip to the triangle graphic, great. So this is just how Big Duck thinks about communications in general, and I'm not going to go too far into this because I think this is kind of complicated, but what I want to make sure that everyone understands is that we think about communications in three sort of big chunks, and the top one should look really familiar to anyone working with a mission-based organization or project. And these are things that need to be clear to you in order to do any kind of communication. So starting at the very top with your vision, your mission, all of those things will inform not only your communications, but just all of your programs in general. So the way we see this is those things all lead down into this yellow identity level, and that's primarily what we work with organizations on, developing a visual identity and a messaging platform. And the visual identity is what I'm going to talk about today. But then you can think of those as sort of the toolbox that helps you create any kind of thing that you're using to communicate with your communities. So that experiential level at the bottom, whether you're making something big like a website or just something small, even a tweet, a postcard, all of those things should be informed by your visual identity. So we can talk more about this. Like I said, it's complicated, but as long as it's clear that the way we look at it is all of your communications flow from your mission and vision using your visual identity. All right, do you want to go to the next one? And I just wanted to show also, these are some organizations, these are not organizations that we've worked with, but I think these are kind of the things that we point to in our space, organizations that are doing a really good job of visual communication. And you know, that's not just their logos, even though that's what's on this page, but I think if you look at these organizations, you'll see how the visual identity they've built flows through everything that they do, everything that they create. And that's sort of the gold standard that we aim for, and that I think is really important for you to aim for with your projects. You know, communication is visual these days, like Julian was saying, and that can really help you create a relationship with your community, build trust with them so that anything they see of yours, they know instantly it's yours, and it's all communicating with one voice, hearkening back up to the mission and what you do. So if we want to go to the next one, what I'm going to do for the rest of this is talk you through an example of an organization we have worked with on developing their visual identity, and then also show you how that plays out in the rest of their materials and in an infographic that we did with them as well. So this is an organization, the Foundation for Jewish Camp. Their mission is to promote Jewish Camp as a way for young people to connect with their Jewish identity and to build sort of the future Jewish community. So you can see the identity we developed. Two tools that we really use are positioning and personality. And positioning, it's like I said, it's that thing that they do that differentiates them. So the fact that they use Jewish Camp as the way they achieve their mission. But their personality, you know, you can see this is also playful but not juvenile. And so using who you are and what you want to look and feel like to develop your visuals is really key. So if you want to go to the next slide, I think it becomes a little bit clearer how this plays out in their actual communications. So you don't need to even see their logo on one of these to know that these all come from the same organization. When we talk about visual identity, that's not just the logo, but that's the colors that you use and the typefaces that you use, and understanding that, you know, you shouldn't just be using colors that you like or type that you like. It really needs to all reflect back to the organization and who you want to be. And then if you go on to the next slide, this is, if you take one thing away, this is what it should be, is that we created a style guide for them when we created the identity. And this is the most important thing you can have for your communications, is some document that says, these are the colors we use, this is how we use photography, this is how we use our logo, so that those things can be consistent. I know consistency doesn't sound super sexy, but that is sort of the key to doing effective visual communications, is making sure that it's not just one thing looks like this, another thing looks like that. You want to have it all be speaking with the same visual voice. So if you want to move ahead, I think, you know, and another thing to remember is that, you know, you're telling visual stories even when you don't know you are. So this is the Foundation for Jewish Camp's office, and they were consistent even here. They used their logo, they used their colors, they used their tagline. And so any place that people are going to be encountering you, that's an opportunity to be advancing your story about your mission. So I think, you know, from here, what I want to move into is sort of how they used this in a piece that really told the story of their impact. So I think, you know, the Foundation for Jewish Camp, there are people out there who are like, wait, Jewish Camp, that's kind of a weird way to be advancing the Jewish community. Does that really work? And actually, they had done a big study that showed that it does. But if you go to the next slide, but it looked like this, which was not visually compelling at all. It was, you know, 15 pages of dense academic text, sort of tables that, you know, definitely if you take the time to read them, show that yes, you know, Jewish Camp has an impact and makes a difference. But it really wasn't something that anybody was going to dig into if they weren't already really invested. So what we did, if you go to the next slide, is turn this into an infographic where it was easy to see sort of at a glance what the big picture takeaways of this are. And I know this is a little bit hard to see on screen, but we've broken this down into sort of the 3 sections of how Jewish Camp builds identity, builds community, and builds leadership. And I think the last slide shows a zoomed in version. Yeah, so I think some of this, you know, this is really what we strive for. We took that 15 pages, pulled sort of the key numbers from there, not all of it, just the things that we thought were going to be compelling, and showed these in a really clear, straightforward way. And you can see this, you know, uses the same colors you saw in their other materials. It uses the same style, and you instantly know this is from them, but it's much easier to digest. So I think, you know, this is kind of what we try to do for organizations, help them take the information that they have and show it in a way that's going to be instantly compelling. So I know that was a really quick run through. I'm happy to answer questions at the end about any of this or any other things that Big Duck does.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And you know, we designed this webinar because we invited Rebecca because clearly she's a real expert, and you know, from the materials you can tell they really know their stuff. So I really appreciate it, and really appreciate just that overview of some of the sort of rules of thumb to keep in mind as you begin to, you know, develop what the story you want to tell, and the story of your organization and project. Right now, we're going to be joined by Shane Gring. And Shane is from Denver, Colorado. I'll read his bio in a minute. So we started with a broad overview and looked at the rules of thumb just in visual branding and visual storytelling in general. We invited Shane because he's had some real experience personally with the work that he does that's actually around green building and design. And so we'll get to hear a little bit about how sort of he started to engage with more visual storytelling in the work that he did. But I will read his bio first. So Shane is a recovering architecture student and a member of the unemployable generation. That's a bummer. After college graduation, Shane struggled to locate meaningful work due to his lack of real-world experience in his chosen profession of sustainable design and construction. Frustrated with the building industry's experience barriers for young professionals, he has now dedicated his life to making green building accessible and available to all. Fast forward 3 years, and Shane now leads Bold, an experimental green building education company based in Denver, Colorado. He and his team have trained over 400 developing professionals with real-world green building experience. They've supported the construction of 40 LEED certified affordable homes and scaled Bold's programming to 10 states. He is a 2012 Unreasonable Institute Fellow, 2012 Hitachi Foundation Young Entrepreneur Fellow, and a 2012 Huffington Post Millennial Impact Challenge Awardee. So he is really doing big things. So Shane, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thanks, Julian. Excited to be here, guys, and share kind of our story and how we have used visual storytelling to convey our mission, our efforts, and leave with some tips to help your own ventures and your own projects moving forward with this process. So I'm going to switch over to my presentation here. All right, so let me scale it out a bit. All right, so when we began the Bold venture about 3 years ago, I came from a very a design background, and I knew that this field of architecture, of green design, of construction, we're a very visual group of people. So we really wanted to make an emphasis on how we presented ourselves and how we conveyed things visually, because oftentimes green, it can be a very ephemeral or esoteric concept. There's a lot of baggage that comes with it. So, how could we get out of getting lost in these kind of superfluous words and get to the point? And storytelling is probably the most effective route that we found to get to that point. What we also struggled with was explaining this bigger vision that we had. We kind of have, as I'll explain, two different moduses for Bold as a company, and these two major ideas that run parallel with one another that was hard to explain to people in a verbal way. And we've used storytelling to convey both of those ideas and found some success with that. So I'll jump in. And then here's all my contact information on our website if you'd like to take a look at how we attempt to do that online. Right there, I'll end with that slide as well, just if you're taking notes. So this first example that we have here is our impact. In green, in social enterprise, which is I'm focused in, it's all about your numbers and conveying to your donors, to your investors, to your supporters that your efforts are having some tangible results. So this is an example of a visual that we provide to our donors and to people in our organization to convey. So we have very storytelling, very visual numerics. We have kind of interesting infographics showing the amount of homes supported, certifications achieved, people that we've impacted. It really comes down to the folks that you're helping. So if you can put some numbers behind those names and behind your efforts, people find a lot of gravity in that and will be magnetized to support you. Also, what we found in green, that people throw out numbers all the time, and really, putting your flag in the ground and showing sometimes where your impact is and how these energy efficiency savings will impact families and the impact over time as well. Because green, we're very much, this is a long-term game. So what can we save families over 30 years with these greenhouses that we're helping support? So that's kind of what this Money Saved by Families graphic is trying to represent. We've also found that CO2, it's a weird kind of, again, ephemeral concept that not everyone gets, people are skeptical about. So we're really trying to figure out ways to better explain it, to show it visually. And so we have some interesting stats here at the bottom as far as how this conversion looks for the number of barrels of crude oil saved by the energy efficient home that we built, and the pounds of CO2 in the atmosphere. So showing some compare and contrast, we found pretty interesting as well. So that's our impact page. This is what we try to update quarterly to show folks that we're really trying to move in this. This is where we're moving. This is what's happening. We've also included in the past kind of our projected numbers. Say you help us out, we're going to be able to serve X more families and train why more people. So projected numbers are also an interesting thing to consider when creating an infographic as well. The second one here is one that we've used from a storytelling capacity. To kind of explain what Bold does a little bit more, we take architects, engineers, those developing in the building industry, we take them out of the classroom and we connect them with the project, oftentimes a Habitat for Humanity home, in their community where they learn by doing, they get hands-on green training, and then it can come out with this tangible skill set. But in parallel, we also are helping this affordable housing builder, helping this Habitat get greener, put better materials in, and provide a more efficient home for families. So we have these two stories, one of affordable housing and low-income families getting served, and that of a generation being better trained and prepared to tackle the problems ahead. So with this graphic, we are kind of setting the stage. We've got two of these parallel lines following one another. One showing the impact that the building industry has had on our environment and how profound much of this, our human impact is having on it, and the issues that are faced. We also kind of have on the other side what affordable housing needs, what those numbers look like, trying to paint a picture for folks considering our programming, what those issues are and how they could potentially help support. So we present these two problems in this graphical way. Here's another thing we've added as far as why greenhouse house building is so important, health issues, things like that. So then we scroll here to the bottom and explain the two organizations that we work with. So we work heavily with the U.S. Green Building Council and their LEED programs, and how they are impactful and why they matter and why they're important. And we also kind of contrast it against Habitat for Humanity, which is our affordable housing building partner, and their impact to kind of set the stage for why these are two legitimate organizations, two groups that have had an awesome impact here in the world, and set the stage for those two. And then we have posed these questions. How can we get more access to LEED projects to help train people, help propel that industry forward? With that, of a similar question, how can Habitat build better homes? How can we find the funding, the resources? We set that up, and then we come in. So we bring these two ideas together. We've kind of got this process, 1, 2, 3, that's easy, very easy for people to understand, and help show this marrying of these two different ideas. So those are two infographics. I'd be happy to share with you if you want to take, mock these or model them in your own work. They're a lot of fun to build, and it helps you, from your perspective, figure out how you're going to explain your story to donors, to funders, when you're stopped on the street. How do you effectively convey it, both in a visual and in a verbal standpoint. These also serve as a great marketing piece. Whenever I have presentations, people love printing this out, popping them up over and around their schools and whatnot. It also serves as great marketing material. We get a lot of awesome feedback from people who love these types of things. Our generation, this millennial generation, really enjoys these infographics as far as how they consume media. So if that's your audience, so investing in something like this, I think, is really important. So all this was done in-house. I have a really talented team, but for those perhaps without those resources, some pro tips from my perspective is there's a lot of unemployed architects out there, and that's kind of the problem I'm trying to solve, but they're all really gifted in these types of softwares to build these infographics. So put a thing on Craigslist, post it, and you'll find someone that is looking for a little more experience, looking to add something to their resume, and they have the skills and ability, especially architects, to help facilitate that. There's also a really cool website called Fiverr, where in most cases it costs you $5, and someone will be able to create a visual icon or graphic, maybe a little bit more money. They'll be able to build you a full-blown infographic. Fiverr has been a great resource for us. So to round out, check us out online. We've got it all posted there, and then if anyone wants to ask any more questions to me directly or to get access to these PDFs, I'd be happy to send them to you. There's my email right there.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much, Shane. Awesome work. As you can see from Shane's presentation, just an incredible amount of information, but all displayed in a compelling way, in a way that's easy to digest and easy to understand. For those of you watching, we will We'll send a follow-up email with the recording of this presentation, so if there's details you missed, you can watch it again. We encourage you to share it with people in your network so we can be, giving the game to everybody possible. We'll also make sure to send contact and emails and websites so that you can dig a little deeper there as well. So I know at times it can be, quick moving, but we'll come back to it. I also want to just take a quick second to shout out to our friends in Indianapolis, Indiana, the Kepra Institute. We just saw y'all on Twitter. We see you out there. So we appreciate you guys and your support and for joining us today. The Kepra Institute is doing incredible work. Our fellow Imhotep Adisa is working with a bunch of incredibly talented young folks out there. So check them out because they're awesome. And I also wanted to just remind folks that we're still accepting questions before we get to our last presenter. You can email questions to business@greenforall.org. That's all spelled out in all one word, business@greenforall.org. Or you can hit us up on Twitter, and we're monitoring that clearly. And you can hit us up with hashtag GFA Visuals. Hashtag GFA Visuals, plural. Right, Maritza? I think so. So we're still accepting questions. And right now we are going to pivot a little bit. We started with sort of broadly looking at just exploring why it is so important to tell our story in a visual way and what that can look like and some of the rules of thumb to keep in mind. Then Shane took us through the process that they sort of do and how they tell their story as a green building and design firm and gave us some game around that. And now we're going to move to the other visual medium that we're exploring today, which is video. And we didn't have to go far to find an expert in this realm because we have in-house here at Green for All. He's been here for about 4 years, I'd say at least, maybe more. But Ryan Dexter is our in-house video production specialist master, I think is his official title. And he's a graduate of the University of California in Santa Cruz. I should say before that, he's born and raised in behind the redwood curtain of Humboldt County, so he's deeply rooted to nature, and that's really originally I think what brought him to this work in general. But he's a graduate of the University of California, Santa Cruz. He got his BA in film and video there. He started long before that, though. He's been making videos for over 15 years. He is been working at Green for All since almost the beginning. Has made I think about 300 videos. Ain't that right, Ryan? Close to 300. Yeah,
lots of videos. 300
videos for Green for All, and is largely responsible for the breadth and width and reach that Green for All has been able to have with our message. He has won awards in the 24-hour film race, and most recently had his film Global Warning selected for the San Francisco International Green Film Festival, which just took place here in San Francisco. And so with no further ado, Ryan Dexter, take it away.
All right, thanks guys. This is going to be fun. We're going to watch some videos, talk about some of the types of videos we make, excuse me, some of the successes we've had with our videos, and then get right into some tips and tricks for producing your own videos. So there's a number of ways that we use videos, but one of the most powerful ways, and my mantra when it comes to filmmaking, is telling a life-changing story. So for example, you tell the story of a person that's dedicated their life to urban gardens and healthy food because a family member has been affected by diabetes, and you have a powerful story. You tell a story of somebody who gets out of prison, decides they're trying to turn their life around by working in a recycling plant. You have a powerful, powerful story. So, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, what your political orientation is, there's a human chord that you can strike in video and deeply move the viewer or the audience to action. As Julian mentioned, the last 4.5 years of Green for All, we've created hundreds of videos, and I wanted to go over some of the types of videos we've created and some of the successes that we've had from some of those videos. And this is the part where I get to brag on myself a little bit. So one of the coolest things that we've done is answer a few direct requests from the White House to make videos. This was like within the first year of Green for All. Joe Biden asked our old founder and president Van Jones if his video guy could make a video explaining what a green job is. That video played at Joe Biden's middle class task force meeting. That was his first meeting ever. Projected in front of hundreds of people, media, news cameras around the country. And so we were directly responsible for telling the vice president and his team what the term green job meant. And that was amazing. I shared that with my mom. She's like, "Oh, I love you." And then after the BP oil spill, we went down to New Orleans. Shot a story with the Vietnamese fishing community about their experience with the spill, the loss of jobs, and the lack of translators for the Vietnamese community to submit claims to BP. And at the time, no one was reporting the story. We got over 100,000 views within a few days of releasing the video, and the next thing you know, CNN is down there reporting the story. Last month, we produced a video for one of our allied organizations, Mosaic, formerly Solar Mosaic, that was sent out to thousands of reporters and helped get their first $1 million solar project funded. So there's a million different ways you can use video as a tool to organize, to educate, to raise money for a cause. And like I said, yeah, we create all types of videos, educational videos, movement building videos, and brand building videos, and videos around a certain cause or campaign. And if you go to Green for All's website, and go to the video drop down, you can see our videos broken up into different categories. And if you haven't checked them out, I encourage you to do so. Next, I'm going to go over the process of how to create a video for all you aspiring filmmakers out there. And this is obviously a little. This is the 5-minute version. I can talk about this all day, but first you want to ask yourself, who's your audience? Are they funders? Are there people you want to help to fund your project? Is it a tool that's part of an educational curriculum? Are you showing a video to a wide audience that you're trying to inspire to action? Do you want your video to go viral? So first, decide on your audience. Second, you want to map out the goals. So for example, I'll read out the goals that we set for the video that we're actually releasing this week, called I'm a Push. It's a fun new music video that's part of our Dream Reborn music competition. We'll get into that later. But so the goals for that video, just had a few goals. Expand the Green for All brand in a big way. Try to get 100,000 views. Create a tool that our base can use in an ongoing way to educate communities about community resilience. And engage partners and strengthen those relationships. Third thing, and probably the most important thing in filmmaking that I find, is pre-production. And I'll say it again: pre-production, pre-production, pre-production. The tighter your game plan is up front, the better your video is going to be. Have everything mapped out nice and neat. What are you shooting and when? Who are you interviewing and when? Do you have your locations and your props mapped out? Make shot lists, make production schedules, stay organized. I can't emphasize the importance of this enough. So I know there's a lot of information, but the next thing I'm going to go over is some tips and tricks for amateur filmmakers, and I'm going to show this video that we created about a year and a half ago as a tool for our fellows to create their own videos.
Hey folks, welcome to Video Production 101. I'm Seema, and I'm going to take you through some useful filming tips to help you to avoid amateur video mistakes and have the highest production value possible. Tip number 1, keep your shot steady and don't use the zoom. Use a tripod or something to stabilize your camera. For example, tip number 2, rule of thirds.
Oh, well, pardon me, Mr. Perfect!
Keep your action or subject to one side of the frame.
The industry's ruining our air and water. Your time is up.
Also, when possible, try to keep your B-roll shots separated by horizontal thirds. Tip number 3, film in a quiet space.
Wow! Someone to care, someone to share, lonely hours and moments of despair.
I like to film outside because it's aesthetically pleasing, but stay away from busy streets or loud noises. Keep your camera mic set to shotgun and keep the camera close to your subject.
I feel like I'm providing opportunities for people. I'm a different kind of role model. I'm not an engineer. I'm a woman, and I'm a woman of color, and I'm the general contractor, and I'm very, very proud of that.
Tip number 4, even lighting.
Everybody come out quick, look at the lights!
Make sure you have even lighting. Stay away from harsh outside shadows or dark rooms. Check out these even lighting examples.
Our coaching program works with early-stage green businesses.
My name is Gabriel Manduhano. I'm the founder of Wash Cycle Laundry.
The environmental movement doesn't look just one way, and you don't have to put a solar panel on your house to be considered green.
Tip number 5, multiple angles. Make sure to have multiple shots of the action that's taking place. If possible, I like to have a medium wide shot, facial close-up, hands, and over the shoulder. And don't forget, the most important thing, have fun and good luck.
Basically, to reiterate, audio is one of the most important things when it comes to the production value of your video. It can really make or break your video and make it seem either amateur or professional. And if you're using the internal mic on your camera, make sure you're somewhere really quiet and have the camera really close to your subject. I use a lavalier mic set. They can get really expensive for the good ones, but they're worth every penny. Some people like the look of handheld cameras. First, master keeping your camera steady, and then after you get that down, you can get artsy with the handheld shots. And mix up your shots. A big amateur mistake is to just have one wide shot, one static wide shot. Because folks think that if they don't get everything in the frame, they'll miss something. I would say don't worry about this. Get close-ups of everything. Now I want to talk about the types of cameras that you can use to make videos. I recommend using a DSLR. That's like a digital camera that has interchangeable lenses that can take great photos and great-looking video. That's what we use. You can buy a decent one for anywhere between $1,000 and $3,000. If you can't afford that, even with a shitty camera that's HD, you can get decent results and make a good video if you follow tips. If you follow the tips that I've been talking about. And let's talk about editing for 1 second. This part's a little tricky, but if you have a Mac, you can buy iMovie for $5. It's a really easy editing program. If you can buy Final Cut Pro, which is what I use, I think it's like $100 now. And when it comes to learning to edit, I taught myself how to edit on 2 VHS machines and plug my stereo in there. But these days, there's thousands of great online tutorials out there to teach you how to edit. Just Google, iMovie tutorial, and hundreds of videos will pop up. If you have a PC, I would just Google top 5 free editing software, and a bunch of options will come up, and there's tutorials for those as well. And to end my segment, we're going to show you a music video that we produced last year for our Dream Reborn music competition. The song is called 7 Billion. The reason we're showing it today is because we're releasing the new Dream Reborn music video this week. So stay tuned for that. It's called I'm a Push. And so here is one of the music videos we created last year.
The United Nations declared that today the world's population reached 7 billion people.
Oh, see, what's up, man? What's up with you? How you doing? I'm chilling, man. For the most part, I just see my mom and my family struggling. One thing about that, bro, it's like his mother struggling all over the world, from Africa to Middle East. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. One thing I think we need to do is honor that.
minus the race, colors, and creeds. Power to the people. We strong enough and now we could live long enough to defeat you. It's in our DNA to get rid of this racist. That portion I can cope with, but I'm so sick of this hatred. We strong as 7 billion. Come on, let's keep it building. My Asians keep creating. My Russians keep distilling. My Germans send them euros by the plurals to the state. My Egyptians send that tea by the case. I like the taste. United Nations ain't doing what they supposed to. Finding a strategic way to bring the nations closer. Tell me what's the border? Why we divide and coach us? Why we collide with social order?
We are going to shed blood because of our land. We will. We are used to that. Our forefathers shed blood for our land. We will do so.
There's a war going on outside, nobody's safe from. People fight for their lives, only the fake run. It's a war going on outside, nobody's safe from. People fighting for their lives, only the fake Power to the run. people. This is not a black thing, this is not a white thing, this is a world thing. Power to the people. This is not a brown thing, this is not a red thing, this is a world thing. 7 billion strong. 7 billion strong. 7 billion strong. 7 billion strong. 7 billion strong.
Slavery
Power
performed
to
by
the people.
governments, politicians, and Uncle Tims, pulling our strings like puppets and hope that we don't look up at them till we occupy public land and stand for something instead of falling for nothing. Let them know we know something. Tell them we're tired of suffering. Victims to hell's destruction. The mysteries in the rubble. Start digging to fix the puzzle. Scream victory with the shovel. So scream victory with the shovel. Yeah, divided they will kill us, united they will hear us. And their worst fear is knowing that the fear is no longer with us. So power to the people, people to the power. Power to the people, people to the power. The banks still making profits, unemployment still ain't dropping. Colleges holding you hostage, you're bound to pay for that knowledge. Everything's by the dollar, nothing's free but the problems. There's a price for the peace, and that's a piece of the problem. Why all we see is the violence. According to the census, we make 7 billion. Well, how many of us 7 billion gon' make 7 million? And here's a better question for the living. How many of us living or just existing?
Power to the people. This is not a black thing, this is not a white thing, this is a world thing. Power to the people. This is not a brown thing, this is not a red thing, this is a world thing. 7 billion strong. 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 Power to the people.
Continue to make me proud with that smile and always care about people and give people everything that you have in you to give. Because I've taught you well, I've taught you all that you need to do and all that you need to make it in life. And as long as you use all those things, Christian, you will make it real far.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you very much. So lots of great information there again. So we have close to 15 minutes left, so we're going to jump into some questions. So one of the first questions, I imagine this is one that a number of people have. They said, I want to know how to make high-impact videos or infographics with limited resources, where to start. So I know we covered that a little bit, but maybe just quickly we can go by if there's resources that you know of, and Rebecca, I'm thinking of, you talked a little bit about this idea of a style guide. Like, are there any sort of, if you can't work with somebody to develop your style guide, what are some things that you should try to, work on yourself in terms of, what makes strong visuals or color combos or those kind of things, and if there's any resources that folks know. So we can just maybe start with you, and we'll go around the horn to Shane next if there's any input there. And then Ryan, if you went over it a little bit, but maybe just recap the top 3 or 4 things. If you don't have big resources, how can you still make an effective video? Go.
Sure. Well, I can start. I think Shane pointed out also. I think if you can't hire a big design agency, There are plenty of freelance designers who are pretty affordable, and even design students often really want experience just making something that they can put in their portfolio. So those are all great resources if you don't have a ton of money to spend on developing a brand identity. I think in terms of infographics, a resource that I really love is a website called Visually, so it's visual.ly. And I think that's a great place to just see a whole community of people who are developing infographics and to get ideas for what works. And what's also nice about that is you can see the kinds of things that people are sharing. I think that's one of the big benefits of this kind of tool is it is stuff that people want to share with each other, so you can get a really good sense of what's working and what people are excited to share.
I'll share two more options there, Julian. Is that okay?
Yep, that's great.
Cool. So I mentioned that website called Fiverr, which we found to be a great resource for us. Let me pull it up here if I can. So we even have a category on creating an infographic for $5. So there's a few options there. So I can't attest to the quality of them or the extensiveness, but it could be a great place for you to start. And for those that maybe aren't website savvy or don't have a website quite yet, I have friends at another great company called Strikingly, which you can throw up a really quick website for cheap. It looks really professional. Here's the website here, strikingly.com, which could be another low-cost, very high-end website option for folks that are on a budget.
Awesome. Super helpful. So I don't want to be redundant. These are related, and it's, again, sort of about the free... Oh, Ryan, I'm sorry. Did you want to chime in around video?
Sure. Yeah. I touched on this a little bit before, but there's people out there that have made full-length movies or documentaries using an iPhone. You can actually get lenses for your iPhone. You can get a little tripod. Anything that takes HD video, if you have decent audio, if you're not zooming in and out, you can still tell a powerful story and do it cheaply.
Great. Cool. These next two, okay, so related. Good place to find templates for infographic materials for cheap, and the other one was low-cost green photos to legally incorporate in slideshows or videos. So Ryan, I don't know if you have a line on that. We often get out into the field and take our own, but I'm not sure if you've had to source photos before. But any thoughts on both either templates or green photos? And actually, before I have you answer this, let me say I know that I would definitely encourage folks to Google free or low-cost infographics, and I know a number of resources and companies will come up. We, I can't recommend one or the other. I think Shane gave us some good options there, but definitely, there are resources out there if you Google search it. But if there's any that people know offhand, that'd be great. And Ryan, maybe start with you around the photo stuff, because I know you've had to look into that sometimes.
Yeah. So we'll buy stock photos off iStock Photo. And there are places around the web where you can get free, copyright-free images. So I just encourage either going to iStock or just searching for copyright-free, or royalty-free.
Cool. And Ryan, one more question related to video. Animation, somebody said, is there an easy-to-use animation software package that one can incorporate animation into their video productions? Any thoughts there?
Animation's tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen those videos where you have animated figures and all you have to do is type in lines and they'll kind of act out different scenarios. That could be a possible way to do cheap, free animation. But as far as learning how to animate, it definitely takes some time and some work. But you can do. But I learned how to animate just using online tutorials. So I didn't go to school for that. So it's definitely doable.
Cool. Thanks. All right. So this is just shifting gears a little bit. We had a question from somebody, and I'm not sure who potentially has had experience with this, so we'll see, but maybe just some thoughts. But somebody wanted to know around integrating video and infographics and social media into crowdfunding for donations. So I don't know if there's any thoughts there, but I'll just throw it out, and if anybody has any sort of experience or thoughts around that, and if not, we can move on to, yeah.
Hey, Julian, we have some experience with that. We did a fellowship program a year ago called the Unreasonable Institute. We had to crowdfund $10,000 in about 30 days. And we had no prior video editing experience whatsoever. I just had iMovie by chance on my computer, and then we used iPhone as a camera and just kind of had a still overlooking. We actually produced a set of slides on an iPad, and we just kind of slid through all the slides with a voiceover and then filmed it all on our iPhone. So it was a very, we didn't buy anything extra. We had all of these resources just for our daily lives that we were able to hack into and use as a way to create a quick video. And we were successful with it, so it can work.
Cool. That's great. Any other thoughts there? Cool.
Well, yeah, in terms of integrating infographics also, we do this a lot when we do sort of email fundraising campaigns, is infographics are kind of a natural for showing how much money you've raised so far and how much is left to go. So that's a really easy way you can make it more visual, either, how much has been accomplished or what's left.
Great. Cool. And I'm going to go right back to you, Rebecca, and then maybe Shane, if you want to chime in as well. This is an interesting one. This person says, I work at a think tank. One major challenge is to retain the integrity of our research as it gets turned into a visual and is often boiled down to a headline. So they wanted suggestions for researchers on how to convey complicated data points and infographics while retaining high academic standards. Clearly written by an academic. So it looks like, Rebecca, I wanted to kick it to you just because, sort of in your example, I think was a very clear example of, you took 15 pages of work that was based in real numbers that was trying to make a real case for the work of the camps, and we're able to do that. So just any thoughts there?
Right. Sure. It's always a balance because, you need to be accurate, and that's always something we're always saying, don't do anything visually that distorts the data. I think a lot of people want to make cool 3D charts, and 3D is actually really awful for conveying what the numbers actually are, but it is a balance because you want to pick only the things that are going to be really compelling for the audience. They're not going to have the patience to sit through all of that. So I think the biggest thing is for the researcher to be able to work together with the designer, whoever's making it, and really get an understanding of the audience and how they can balance being accurate and being thorough with getting the message across.
So Ryan, real quick, which DSLR is your favorite to film with? You will be paid for this. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I shoot with the Canon 5D Mark III. We used to shoot with the Canon 7D. The 7D runs for about $2,000. The 5D is about $3,000. But you can buy, like I said, you can buy one for $1,000, and you can buy really amazing glass, which you can buy really amazing old lenses for cheap, and even if you have one of the cheaper DSLR options, if you get you can pay $50 for a nice 50mm lens, and it's going to look almost as good as a $3,000 option. So
cool. Good. Pro tips, baby. All right, so we are coming to the end of our time, and I just want to run over a little bit of material. I want to thank everybody for sending questions. We got to a good number of them. If we didn't get to your question, we'll forward it to the person that it applied to and make sure that it gets answered. And I want to thank everybody out there in the online universe for joining us today. I want to just again reiterate, so what we'll do next is we'll take this broadcast, we'll edit it and just clean it up, we'll make sure the videos aren't jumpy and things like that, and we will send it back to everybody who RSVP'd and who joined us today. With that email, we'll also have information for our panelists, information of the sites. For instance, Shane pulled up a couple different sites. We'll make sure to provide those. Any other resources that folks feel like they want to point you towards, we'll have those. Really quickly, I want to thank very much our panelists today. Rebecca Hume, art director from Big Duck, which you can find at bigducknyc.com. Thank you so much for being here. Really glad you could join us. Shane Green from Bold. You can find them at bebold.com. and of course the esteemed Ryan Dexter right here from greenforall.org. And I also want to thank the folks that are actually making it happen behind the scenes here, Mari Tessa, Bravo Arez, and Maritza Martinez, who is on my team, and also Kari, who is on our team, who wasn't able to be with us today, but also introduced us to Shane. So thank you to Kari. He runs our Business Accelerator program, so you can find out more about that on our website. One quick plug is that we want to continue to do these. We really enjoy them, and people seem to get a lot out of it. So if you have ideas around topics that we can do moving forward, we're open to ideas. Would love to hear those from you. And please join us again. Keep your eye out for our next one, and you look forward to hearing from us with all the more information very soon. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.